Hey, you guys. Today we are recording at the beach,
Yes.
and this is our first episode in which we will upload ourselves instead of just the audio. But today's episode is going to be about the mask that we put on, or the mask that we create. And basically, everyone does it. And we're just going to talk about why we do it, what kinds of masks we put on, and some situations that occur based on how we decide to or when we decide to put our masks on. But
Mhm.
yeah, so yeah. Uh so Mickey, if you want to start with the main topics of the masks we put on.
Yeah, for sure. So we just kind of like we're dividing this episode almost into two parts. We're kind of doing like why we put our mask on and kind of the consequences that come about that. So some ideas I had written down is I know for me at least, like a lot of times I'll put a mask or put up a front because of I want to hide my true feelings, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a big reason because you kind of just want to like protect yourself. And I think and I'll touch on this later, like there's good and bad ways to put on a mask, but it's just you don't want to really express your true feelings because either it might not be the like time and place, it might hurt somebody's feelings, or your feelings might get hurt. So it's kind of just like putting a guard up. Not even
Yeah.
just like a fake mask, like, acting one way. It's just to put your guard up and protect yourself. And I feel like that's maybe one of the most like common times that I see people put up a mask.
Yeah, I think so too. Um it's just people, especially a lot of guys, they have, like toxic masculinity, and they have this deep fear that if they open up, they're too feminine, or, it's just old school. So it depends, and they bottle up their feelings. So I can see that.
For sure. Kind
Um,
of like insecurities almost. Like they don't want
basically,
people to see
yeah.
that soft side of them. And like I think that goes for like me too. Sometimes I'm like, I don't want to come off this way, so I'm gonna do everything in my power not to show that side of me, which is like a little toxic.
Yeah.
Like it's a little bad sometimes to not like
I
fully express yourself, you know?
For sure, but I think it's only human nature,
Of course.
like we're so it's kind of bad, but we make decisions based on our feelings too much. And we need to be more cohesive with both our regulating our emotions and making rational decisions, because if you can't do both or one overpowers the other, that's when you make decisions that impact other people's lives or relationships or even your own.
For
And
sure.
yeah, it's not healthy.
Yeah, I okay, so something I found that kind of like ties all this together is there's this saying that we have three masks, like everybody does. So the first one is what we show the world, how we present ourselves to like the entire world, whether that be like social media with your friends, whatever. Um, or like in a social setting. But the second one is what we show close friends and family. So that's just people we're a little bit more comfortable around, not like total strangers. And then the third is what we do not show anybody else. So what you do when you're home alone by yourself, nobody else is there seeing you, watching you, whatever. And I think like that's a really good way to divide it. And it's honestly a healthy thing too, is like you don't want to act the way you would act by yourself around the whole world, not because you're not being who you are. It's just sometimes there's things you want to do in private and some things you want to do in public, not just to follow like rules or regulations, but just to protect yourself and your peace, you know?
Perfect. I was gonna say, like, protecting your peace. Yeah, I completely agree with that. And the fact that it was divided into those three, like, categories, if you will.
Yeah,
It was like the perfect, like, I was thinking, like, okay, I can see that. I can see the second one, and I can see the third one. So,
that's
yes.
very true. Because I feel like a lot of times too, what I see, and this is for me, and it's kind of like coping mechanisms almost that I've developed like just growing up is I get really defensive and I want to protect myself. So because I found sometimes I'll say something and it'll be twisted, or somebody says something and I twist it. Like it goes both ways, definitely. And people can weaponize things so much. So it's like you don't want to give somebody the power to like have that effect on you, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I just hate when people
Yeah,
take something and weaponize it. So it's like I want to protect my peace and I want to keep that to myself. So I'm not trying to have every little detail of my life shared with somebody who doesn't deserve to know that stuff, you know? Like they don't deserve my time
exactly.
and energy or to know the details of my life to weaponize it and use it against me.
Yeah. Um, I don't know if this is kind of off topic, but I've been watching Suits on Netflix, and this is a spoiler, but Harvey
Oh,
Specter, so he's like one of the main lawyers, and he starts seeing a therapist in like season 5 because Donna, his previous secretary, left him to work for Lewis Litt, and they're kind of like frenemies, I would say, but it's complicated, their relationship. But Donna left him, and he's been having like panic attacks because it's embedded with how his mom left him. And he's seeing this therapist, right? Or this psychiatrist, because he's getting prescribed these pills and stuff. And she told him something really um sensitive, and turns out one of the cases that he was working on his client was also seeing the same therapist. And so he was kind of like pissed at that therapist and used that sensitive information that she told him, that confided him with, and use it against her.
oh
And
shit.
that's kind of like how you were talking, like to protect your peace of mind, like you don't have to like say every single thing to someone, just because like you never
Yes.
really know until like you could tell something fake and then they could go around and spread it, or you could tell them something real and then you don't want to get out but it ends up getting out somehow.
Literally. Because there's some bitches out there who are just going to spread some information for no reason, for their own personal gain, for the drama.
Yeah, I feel like I can understand that people love drama and gossip, but I don't understand how people start rumors. Like those are
Yeah.
some really like sociopathic, like narcissistic people ever, like
Yeah.
pathological liars where they're just bored and they start making stuff up and it can ruin someone's life if it gets deep.
Literally. Like it's
And
giving bad
especially if they,
energy.
yeah, especially if they have like a huge following or a big influence.
Yes. I've
Like
been
that's
seeing that a
crazy to
lot
me.
recently. Like, and of course, like we all perceive things differently. So somebody could say something, but I perceive it some like completely different than somebody else. And I think like if you say something that can be turned into like a sensitive topic for somebody, but you didn't mean to come across that way, like there's both ways. Like somebody could twist the narrative so fast and like put out some
Exactly.
allegations, but there's also like you can address it and realize and own up to your mistake too and be like, shit, I said something that could have been taken both ways. I own up to that. I said it. I'm maturing from it. And then the other person has to realize, like, okay, I can see from their perspective. Like, it goes both ways, but it's just like a tricky situation to be in.
Yeah, both people or parties, whatever you want to call it, have to work in that, because if it's just like one person who's contributing to fixing the issue that keeps coming up and up,
Yeah.
but the other person isn't like making an effort, you're gonna be stuck. You're gonna just be going back to square one.
Exactly. Like just running around the same issues. Do you have any like personal experiences with this type of stuff? Like has not
Ooh.
somebody starting a rumor about you, or maybe like you taking something a different way, I don't know, or like putting a mask up in front of people because you don't want to get burned. Like I don't know, what are your personal experiences?
I will give one experience from like high school, and then I'll give one that I have done recently.
Ooh, yeah,
I would
sounds
say,
good.
I would say from like high school, it was kind of like a negative thing. Let's see. Let me think. Oh, okay. So this is kind of, I spoke about this morning actually, but when I was like in ninth grade, I was pretty skinny. I was like 100 pounds, and I'm 5'3". And that was when I wasn't doing any like high school sports yet. I didn't do it until like October after like basketball tryouts. So I had these like acquaintances, I would say, that were in my home room, and they were talking like about body parts or like body shapes, body types, and they were making fun of me for having a thigh gap. Because at that time, like 2017, 2016, 2017, it was like slim thick era,
Oh
where
my
like having
God.
a thigh gap was like ugly or something. And I didn't think about that stuff when I was that age. I mean, freshman year of high school, which is
Yeah.
kind of like weird. But eventually I definitely picked up on that stuff really quick because people were so caring about their appearances.
Hmm.
And so I started eating as much as I could during lunch. But I was also burning all of that off during basketball practice. And so like it's kind of a different struggle that I'm kind of going into right now, but like you eat as much as you do and then you stop doing sports, you kind of like gain it back,
Yeah.
which is frustrating, but I had to try and like make myself look different so that other people so I can fit into the trendy body type.
Dang, and you kind of like, in a sense, like mask your emotions, right? You're like, damn,
Yeah.
feeling some type of way. And they probably not being lighthearted because, of course, like body shaming or talking about somebody else's body in like a negative light is not okay. But where was I going with this? Oh yeah, but like you put on this mask, right? Because you weren't trying to, you're like, damn, like they made you feel some type of way, and that is not okay. I hope it was resolved, or maybe now you're just resolving it on your own, but that's a tough situation to be in, you know?
I mean, the fact that I do remember that though from
True.
how long? So I must have been like 15, right?
Yeah.
14, almost 15. Yeah, 14, I was freshman in high school. So I was 14 years, 6 years ago, and I still remember like
Shit.
how these things kind of unravel now. And so like now that I know how people think or how people talk, I kind of gauge or read people first to see, what kind of person are they? And then
Yeah.
that's when I like either show my true character, diet down a little bit, or pretend to be something I'm not, which is really rare that I do because I don't care enough. It just depends on whether I think you're worth doing that for, I guess.
Exactly. It's always good to read a room. I think that's definitely a huge skill because like there's those people, yeah, both sides, like super closed off, super cold, and you're like, dang, what am I doing to make that person feel like that? Or you in turn act like that because you're surrounded by these people, you don't feel comfortable, you feel like really out of place. And I think sometimes like you read the room and you kind of, not you specifically, I just think like you, like anybody in general, kind of like molds into the person that you need to be for that social situation. I think it's like a pro and a con. Like it can be a hindrance because you feel not like yourself in that situation, but it's a pro that you can like, you know, kind of bounce back, shift into different, like you know how to handle yourself in a social situation like that because it doesn't come naturally. I feel like to a lot of people, so it's good to read the room. It's good to get a feel for what
Yeah.
people are thinking or how they'll react or act to you, you know?
Yeah,
But yeah, what was your
definitely.
second story?
So I would say, um, I just started at a university that I've transferred to, so I'm a junior now. And
Yay.
all my classes are on campus. And let me just tell you, I'm loving campus life.
Oh,
It's it's like nice. Like, I don't know, I'm getting a lot of vitamin D. I'm walking a lot, and like it's just more enjoyable, I guess, than going to like a community college. It's like the same thing, but it's not. I don't know how to
mm.
explain it. And
No,
I'm a
that's really
commuter,
good.
so kind of sucks. But anyways, yeah,
Yay.
on campus, I put a mask on for sure. And the mask that I put on is like I'm pretending to be someone really confident. And like I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm going. I don't need anybody. Like kind of
You're not
like
lost.
yeah, kind of like kind of like a bitch mentality.
Like a
Like
bad bitch mentality though, right?
I
Like
guess like, oh, I don't need anybody. I don't need friends, but I'm willing to make friends. Like, oh, okay, you're cool. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I like the kind of mask I'm putting on, but I'm having a fun time, so I guess it doesn't matter.
Well, that's
And
good.
uh but yeah, that's the kind of mask I'm putting on. Just like I'm a human, you're a human, we see each other.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Kind of
It's probably
like
like a lot
is
of
it
newness too. Like you don't know how to react and you don't want to like act a certain way and then it fall back on you type of thing. Maybe
yeah. Kind of like the things that happen to you is like 10% and then 90% is like how you react to those things.
for sure. That's like a
So,
coach saying.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I love that because it's so true though.
Hmm.
Um, ooh, sorry. But yeah, I would say that's the kind of mask I've been putting on lately. It's kind
Yeah.
of different, but like now I'm more like you have to cater yourself to the environment, I think. Like if you're trying to join a sorority, right? You have to be super obnoxious and loud and super happy, smiling all the time, like this extroverted person, I feel like. Because like, like rushing and you have to be selected. You have to like come across as this fun and exciting gal. Or
Yeah.
same for guys, I guess. I don't really know how it goes.
Same. I'm like, I could not speak on that even if I wanted to, so let me
I
just be
just
quiet.
I just know from Legally Blonde, they're all
Yes.
like I feel like that's a good representation because they're like sorority sisters or fraternity brothers, whatever.
Yeah.
But like they have this like community around them and they're all the same people. Like they look the same, they dress the same, they talk the same. It's who they are. So like for me, if I was in that kind of environment, yeah, I'd kind of want to like blend in a little bit. I don't want
Yeah.
to like stick out like a sore thumb. And there's nothing wrong with sticking out like a sore thumb. It's just up to you and what you're trying to accomplish in that environment, in that day, in that time. Like if you're trying to just kind of get over this line with a bunch of sorority sisters and you just want to make the time pass, maybe just kind of like have a small smile on your face. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like for some people, like that's their whole, I hate to use the word vibe, but that's their whole like thing, right? Is they like people like that. They're more extroverted. They like the more sorority things. And they found that group of people to do those activities with, I don't know, do that thing with. And then there's some other people too, like on college, right? Then you have other people in groups and you kind of find those people who maybe are like-minded and maybe think the same way or want to act the same way. And like it can be a good thing because you get that support system around you and you can feel more confident and comfortable in those groups instead of fitting into another group because there's so many different types of like activities or you could do your own thing, right? Like that's the beauty
Yeah.
of things like college is there's something for everybody.
I also wrote something down. Um, I think that if you're learning to put on the right mask, it would depend on what you're trying to do, right? If you're
Mhm.
trying to find a group of friends, a group of people, like a community that you would want to be a part of, I think you should carry yourself as the person you want to hang out with.
Yeah,
So, because then you attract those types of people and you're still being yourself. Like
exactly.
for me, I'm wanting to join and run for this computer science club, but I have no idea what to expect. I don't know what these people are going to be like. I don't know how many guys are going to be in there, how many
You
girls are going
got
to be in
this.
there. Thank you. So, once I read the room, I will let you guys know.
Yay. We can't wait to hear maybe like in a week what the update is because that yeah, like that's scary, especially like it's a lot of unknowing like whatever that is, like not knowing what it's going to be like and putting yourself out there. But it's going to be I feel like really rewarding for you, so
Yeah, thank you. Do you have any examples of like before how you used to
like
put a mask
hmm.
and now?
I would say like I've always been kind of that person to like especially like in junior high school, like wanting to fit in. Because both Joe and I, for some background, and I feel like we mentioned this quite a bit, like we grew up in a small town in the South, like pretty small town, and like there was no freaking Target in that small town. And it's just one of those things where I feel like to protect yourself and in order to like, this is how I viewed it, right? I wanted to protect myself, so I kind of hid a lot of things about me and I shaped a lot of things of my personality and the way I dressed, the way I acted. And I really regret a lot of the things. But of course, like trying not to live with regrets, that's in the past. I'm maturing from it now. But I feel like I put a huge mask on and it really like gave me an identity crisis at like the age of fucking 12. Like what? It was insane. But it was just kind of that stage I went through. Like I wish I was white, and I feel like that was huge for me, and it was sad because like of course like I'm adopted. I do like my family is like a good bit is white, a good bit is not. And it's just hard because I feel like I was acting a way I didn't really want to act. I just did it for other people because that's all I knew at the time. And of course, like I wish I could go back and tell my younger self do something different, but that's just not reality. But it is what it is. And I feel like it's helped me as a person because I would say like that's the biggest example I have because we grew up going to church, which I personally do not believe or go to church anymore, but I grew up going like all the time. And I feel like I had to put on a huge mask on. And being like the only like non-white person in the congregation like of the church was really hard. So I feel like even though not making like race a thing, it was just really hard. I feel like I was perceived differently, so I had to act differently to be treated differently. And I think that's just human nature. That's like literally just our way of defending ourselves, our way of protecting ourselves. And I feel like from a young age, I was having to do that constantly because I was being put in this position, you know?
Yeah, and for you to recognize that at a young age, I think it does make people who are different feel different on purpose.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think specifically white people make other non-whites feel out of place, but I don't think they have the self-awareness to recognize we might feel uncomfortable or out of place or unwelcomed,
Of
because
course,
they just
yeah.
kind of carry on about their day like, because, you know, there are 60% of white Americans in the United States. So that kind of just overwhelms everybody else.
And of
And
course, like this is just speaking from like our personal experiences. Like this is not speaking
oh
on the
yeah,
entirety of people, like this is just things I feel like both Joe and I have experienced like on a pretty deep level growing up in a predominantly southern town.
for sure. And but there's a big difference because I grew up in South Korea for 12 years before I
Yeah.
moved here. And I never felt out of place. And I'm very much out of place. Like everyone thought I wasn't Thai. They thought I was white, like American. But they wouldn't like treat me as an American. They would just speak to me as normal, treat me as normal, which I loved.
Yeah.
And like I couldn't have had it any other way. Like I didn't recognize like, oh, I feel out of place, you
Yeah.
know? Like
'Cause like
sometimes I would like first day, okay, new students, but as
yeah,
soon as we'd have interactions, like I'm talking like first, second, third grade and none of that. But
'cause
as
you're
soon
just a
as I
kid.
move, yeah, but as soon as I move here and start going to junior high, middle school, whatever, like complete change and different interactions. Like my first day of school, when I came back home, I cried because I was like, "Oh
Same.
my God, really?" Because
Yes.
it's so like you feel so alone.
Yeah, cause like, and same for me, like, much like you, like, I grew up in Washington State, and of course, like, it's a good mix of different races, and like, I feel like a lot more maybe like Asian people live in Washington compared to where we grew up, like in our later years. And so, yeah, for the first 12 years of my life, like, I never really saw that. But then when we moved, yeah, I just like the first day I felt so overwhelmed and so not like I did not belong. I did not understand. It's totally different. And I just, and as like a young, like being 12 years old and feeling like that, like, damn, that sucks and it
Exactly.
hurts.
I just don't understand how I was able to feel that way. I mean, and I also went to a DOD school, and if you don't know what that is, it's basically like Department of Defense education, something.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't know the last acronym. Anyways, it was like a bunch of mixed kids, whites, blacks, Asians, just everyone. But there were more whites. And but even going to that school never felt out of place either. I think because just military kids. If you find military kids, they're usually pretty chill. They don't make you feel this type of way. in my opinion. Because I mean,
Yeah.
you used to be military, right? Are
Yeah.
you military now?
Yeah. I feel like we have kind of like a similar maybe journey and like experience with that. So maybe like we share that commonality and that level of understanding. And I feel like a lot of military kids go through that too, or sometimes they have to hide themselves and put a mask on because they're moving constantly or changing things
Yeah.
constantly. And same for people who are starting college or starting a new job or starting whatever, or even going to get your mail. Like, right? Like, it's you have to put a certain mask on sometimes or like hide or not express who you are. You know, it's just a tough place and it kind of like hinders that self of belonging, you know?
And I do think sometimes we subconsciously put on a mask because we go in and out of these personas to satisfy like whatever is in our environment. And I think like you've been doing it for so long that your mind just automatically like clicks, oh like okay, you're in Walmart, like who cares? Just be you. And
Yeah.
then you walk into Target and like you gotta kind of act different, kind of dress different. You go into Publix, I don't know. There's
Yeah.
just, or you go to a Dunkin' versus a Starbucks. It's just very different.
There's different vibes, different, yeah, like there's that joke, like the Target version and the Walmart version. Like there's already these like
Yes.
built up personas and things with places and ideas associated with them. It is interesting, like these constructs, I guess.
Yeah. Um, Let me see if I have anything else. No, I think I'm out.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we kind of covered it all, like why we put on masks, experiences we've had, the pros and cons of it. Because I don't think there's really a way to get over that type of stuff. Like we can't sit here and say 3 ways to get over putting on a mask. You know, like we can talk about protecting your inner peace, which I know we'll get into next week, but we can't really sit here and tell you like because everybody's situation is so different, as we've seen with like Joe and I, that there's no like exact way to get over these things or to make it better. It's just something you got to recognize and start understanding and just really, read the room and protect yourself because you don't want people to weaponize that. But it's okay to allow yourself to feel that and be emotional and be sensitive to these things. Like let yourself feel that.
Definitely. Um, yeah. Just remember you're not alone and everybody's going through this. So
Exactly.
just do it. Do the right thing.
We love you guys.
All right. Bye
Hope you
bye.
guys enjoyed this episode. We will see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.